The ancient book of Isaiah has this fascinating puzzle baked right into it. It seems to predict two totally conflicting futures. One is all about perfect peace, and the other, it's about constant danger. So, what's going on? Is it a contradiction, or is there something deeper at play? Well, we're going to dig in and find out. And we'll be using the analysis of theologian Dr. Robert Vannoy as our guide.
I mean, just think about this for a second. One passage paints a picture of absolute, total peace, while another, from the same author, talks about a time filled with nonstop threats. It really makes you wonder, did somebody just mess up? Or is there something much more profound happening here that we're supposed to uncover?
Okay, so to really solve this puzzle, we have to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture first. Dr. Vannoy points out that the first 6 chapters of Isaiah are not just a random collection of thoughts. Nope, they follow a very specific rhythm.
And here it is. You can see this really clear and deliberate pattern. Isaiah sets up this cycle. First, he talks about judgment, then he follows it with a promise of blessing, and then he does it again. And it's right inside these 2 blessing sections that we find our 2 conflicting visions of the future. So let's do it. Let's put those 2 visions right next to each other. This is where we can really get a handle on the core of this whole interpretive challenge. And wow, there it is in black and white. On the one hand, you get this incredible image of swords literally being hammered into farming tools. A world without war. But then, on the other hand, the blessing is described as needing a shelter, a refuge from storms and heat. And you have to ask, why on earth would you need a hiding place if there's absolutely nothing to hide from? So, what gives? Did the author just have a lapse in memory and contradict himself within a couple of chapters? Or, and this is the exciting part, is it possible that we're the ones missing a key piece of the puzzle? A piece that would make these 2 visions fit together perfectly?
Well, according to Dr. Vannoy, the key to this whole thing is hidden in a single, really important phrase back in Isaiah chapter 4. If we want to solve this mystery, we absolutely have to figure out what the author meant by the branch of the Lord.
So how do people interpret this phrase? Well, scholars basically have 3 main ideas. Option 1 is simple. It's all literal. It's just talking about awesome orchards and a great harvest. Option 2 says it's a mix. The branch is a symbol for the Messiah, but the fruit is still just, literal fruit. And then you have option 3, which argues that both phrases are figurative and they're both pointing to the Messiah. Now, Dr. Vannoy comes down firmly on option 3, and his reason is all about a cool feature of Hebrew poetry called parallelism. See, the phrases branch of the Lord and fruit of the land are set up to mirror each other. It just makes the most sense that they mean the same kind of thing. And since other prophecies clearly use the word branch to talk about the Messiah, it's a pretty safe bet that both phrases here are figurative. Okay, so hang on. If Isaiah 4 isn't really about farming, but it's a symbolic passage about a messianic figure, how does that help us solve our original puzzle about peace versus danger? Well, this is where it all starts to click. And that question leads us right to Dr. Vannoy's solution, which totally reframes how we should be thinking about the prophecy in Isaiah chapter 4. And here it is, the aha moment. The vision in Isaiah 4 isn't describing that final, perfect, war-free world at all. What it's actually doing is painting this beautiful, symbolic picture of how God protects his people while they journey through a dangerous world all throughout history. He calls this concept the pilgrim journey. And just think about those images again. A cloud for cover, a fire for light, a shelter from the storm. These aren't pictures of a world with no problems. They're vivid pictures of divine guidance and protection right in the middle of trouble, not after all the trouble is gone. So here's the solution. There is no contradiction. The 2 passages are just describing 2 completely different timelines. Isaiah 2 is looking way, way down the road to a future millennial age of perfect peace. But Isaiah 4, that's about the entire stretch of history, this present pilgrim journey where God's people still need his protection from the storms of life. Solving this one specific puzzle actually teaches us a much bigger lesson about how we should approach these complex prophetic texts in general. Because when you really look at the book of Isaiah, you realize it's not just one single prediction. According to Vannoy, it's this incredible, complex tapestry of visions, pointing to a whole bunch of different future events. Things like the Babylonian exile, the return from that exile, the first coming of the Messiah, the gospel spreading to all nations, that ongoing protection of his people, the blessings of a final millennial age, and even the eternal state in a new heaven and a new earth. It's the whole shebang.
And this really brings us to the main takeaway from Dr. Vannoy's analysis. We have to resist that temptation to force every single passage into one simple, rigid box. You can't just assume every prophecy is about the end of the world, and you can't assume none of them are. Instead, you've got to look closely at the language and the context of each one, and, as he puts it, let the passages speak for themselves.
So it leaves us with this really important question, and it goes way beyond just ancient texts. When we come across something that seems like a contradiction, in scripture, in science, in history, is our first instinct to find a single, simple answer that just flattens out all the complexity? Or are we willing to embrace the challenge and learn to appreciate its multiple layers? This puzzle from Isaiah seems to suggest that the second path, while maybe a little harder, is almost always the one that's way more rewarding.